Unboxing Tech here, and in this video I have the iPhone 17. And for it, I have a whole trove of cases, and it's a lot to go through, so let's get right to it. I have the Ringke Onyx case. The Ringke Onyx is a case made out of solid TPU, so it is flexible. It weighs a very lightweight 37.5 grams. And here it is. This is the camo version, by the way, if you couldn't already tell. Here are the four sides with the bottom cutouts looking perfectly centered. There's a strap hole right here, and the buttons are covered up. There's another strap hole on the other side, meaning you can use the Apple crossbody strap if you so prefer. The camera control button is left open, which is a bit of a shame, but it does mean that you can use the button without any real issues or interference. Front screen has a lift around the top and bottom of the case, with the sides being cut kind of low to minimize swipe interference. I especially like the way Ringke cut the camera cutouts. It's in this 8 design to just perfectly encompass the two camera lenses on the back without any gaps or weaknesses. And there is a huge lift around the camera lens to protect it when you have your phone back on its back, so it won't be exposed to any sort of dust or smudges that you have on your table. I especially like the sides of the Ringke Onyx case. It's subtle, but there are these bumps, and they're a great help with gripping the phone, and it just makes everything kind of comfortable to hold in your hand. There's also a texture on the back of the phone. This one is the camo design, as I mentioned earlier. So there is an extra sort of bit of texture added onto it, but it's still very smooth to the touch. This is the MagSafe version, and the magnet is, oh, it's pretty strong. It feels very secure. Also compatible with MagSafe charging. The Ringke case is priced at $25.99, which I don't think it's a bad price for a case of this quality. Of course, it is missing the camera control button, which is a bit of a bummer, but otherwise it's a very lightweight and slim case that has great grip, and overall it's high quality and I really do enjoy it. I have the Pitaka Ultra-Slim case. The Pitaka Ultra-Slim is, as its name states, ultra slim. It's made out of an aramid fiber, so it is a non-flexible material. It is mind-bogglingly lightweight at 19.1 grams. And here it is. This is the sunset, by the way. Are the four sides of the case, starting with the bottom with the cutouts. The buttons are left uncovered, as it usually is on Pitaka cases. However, there is a camera control cover here. And it's a little difficult to use. One second. So I did change up the settings to make it lighter touch. However, it's still not very responsive. If I'm going to be honest, as you can tell, the struggle is real. The press is fine, but aside from that, the haptic touch does require a bit of a firmer touch to it. Yeah, that's a bummer. So the Pitaka case is generally not really known for their protection levels. As you can see, there is basically no lift around the front screen. And if you put a screen protector on here, I imagine it'll go over the edges of the case. So you definitely do want a screen protector though, because if you put your phone screen down, the first thing that the desk will touch is the screen. And if you're unlucky, that could generate scratches. The back camera does have a wide cutout, and the cutouts are lifted slightly above the camera lenses, as you can see here, which is great for protection. Although there are some parts of it that I have been, kind of disparaging, overall the Pitaka does its job as being incredibly slim and very easy to hold. The armored fiber weave is also really easy to grip, and generally it has a very high quality feeling to it, and I do like the design of it as well. It's very pretty. This case does have a MagSafe magnet, and the MagSafe it's alright. I think it's more than enough to hold up both the phone and the case, which is lightweight, as I said, without any issues at all. Of course, this case is MagSafe compatible. Charger, I mean. So here is the summary of the Pitaka Ultra-Slim case. It is 19.1 grams, and I can tell without testing any of the other cases that this is the lightest case amongst all the others today. It also has a camera control button cover. However, as we saw earlier, it is a little bit finicky and requires a very stern touch, to say the least. The price is also kind of on the higher side at $59.99 USD, and so definitely it's for people who do want this ultra slim look. As I mentioned earlier, it provides very minimal levels of protection overall, but honestly, I kind of like it. Next, I have the ESR Tough magnetic case. The ESR Tough case is a dual-layered case with a flexible TPU inner layer and a hard polycarbonate shell. It is definitely heavier at 61.6 grams. And here it is. Here is the four sides of the case, starting with the bottom with the cutouts. It does have a dust cap on the bottom to protect your charger port. The buttons are all covered up. The camera control button also has a cover on it. And it's fairly easy to use. There's definitely a delay for some reason, but it does work as intended. On the front screen, there is a slight lift just kind of all around, and the corners are particularly high up, as you can see. I'm not a huge fan of the way this camera cutout is laid out. It does look like they used a regular iPhone 16 Pro case and then just like filled in this empty space with some polycarbonate. I mean, recycling is good and all, but it does look a little lazy and slightly awkward, to say the least. However, the raised edges around the camera is substantial and definitely protective enough. This is definitely a bulkier and heavier case. The grip is fine. I would prefer if the TPU kind of covered the bottom parts, as this polycarbonate area is slippery even with these extra designs on it. Also, this is just a personal thing. I don't like it when case companies put out the MagSafe ring like this on the outer shell of the case when they don't necessarily have to, I guess. It just kind of ruins the vibe. But this case does have MagSafe, and it is, whoa, it's incredibly strong. I'm kind of scared, but yeah, it works. For sure it works. You can also charge via MagSafe. So the ESR Tough magnetic case is dual layered, so it's definitely made for protection. It does add a bit of bulk and weight at 61.6 grams. However, there's also a camera control button here, which does give it the extra oomph, I guess. And for all this at $29.99, that is pretty good. I would say even a steal. If you're someone who does want extra protection over just the minimal slimness, this is a great case to go for. Next up is the Torras Ostand case. I said that like an Irish person. This case has a silicone outer shell with a polycarbonate casing on the inside, and there is a very soft microfiber lining on the inner shell as well. It has a pretty average, maybe veering on the heavier side weight of 48.4 grams. And here it is. can't remember the name of this color, but it's so pretty. Here are the four sides, starting with the bottom cutouts. There's an extra hole here, which I believe is for looping a strap around, but it's just one, so you can't use the Apple crossbody with it. The buttons are covered up with these aluminum button covers. And the camera control button is also covered up. And okay. Let's see. It is a little bit finicky. I do have it at the lightest setting, but even after that, it is slightly hard to control the zoom. My hands are dry, by the way, so it shouldn't be an issue with my fingers being sweaty. On the front screen, there is a even lift all around. That is more than enough for protection. However, the back camera design does feel a little lazy. It's just a square cutout, kind of like what you would see for a 16 Pro case. Maybe they just weren't sure what the 17's design would end up being like and they just went with it. Maybe they'll change it up later, who knows. But the lift around the camera lens itself is pretty high and protective enough. Just a bit of a bummer seeing that. The silicone that they use is very soft and incredibly grippy. It feels very comfortable to hold, and I do love this color. Obsessed, even. This MagSafe ring on the back also doubles as a kickstand. That is the maximum length it'll go. This kickstand also rotates, so you can set up your device in landscape mode. Maybe you want it a slightly lower angle, perfectly fine. Portrait mode, same thing, slightly lower angle, it'll hold it. This is a good stand, and it's one of the main draws of this Ostand case, hence the name. Of course, it's also just a regular kickstand. It's honestly not that strong. It is enough to support your device. However, it is also compatible with MagSafe chargers. So I did also review the Torras Ostand case for the Pro Max, and this part right here did peel away, and as you can see, it is starting to rise up a little. I thought it was a smudge at first, but something's definitely happening there. I think it's when I was using the MagSafe kickstand and maybe I scratched it somehow by accident. I see. Maybe this part right here scratched this area here, like so, and pulled up the silicone that way. Do be careful when you're using this case. All in all, here is the summary for the Torras Ostand case. It is a bit on the heavier side, but still very comfortable to hold. The grip is great as well. The camera control button is covered up, as we saw earlier, and the price is $59.99, which I do feel it to be a bit high for this case. There are just some things about it that kind of make it an imperfect case, such as this camera cutout and the fact that I could accidentally nick the area around the kickstand. But all that said, this is a really nice case. I would maybe just buy it when it's on sale or something. Next, I have the Beats Rugged case. When I looked online, it said that the Beats case was made out of a polycarbonate, but feeling it now, I'm not too sure. It feels a bit rubbery, to be honest. Almost TPU-ish, but it does have a hard quality to it as well. I'm not really sure. The inside has a soft microfiber cloth on it for the extra cushioning. It does have a pretty good average weight of 42.4 grams. And here it is. Here are the four sides, starting with the bottom cutouts that are just kind of perfectly arranged. The buttons are covered up with these accent covers. And it does have a camera control button cover as well. And it's pretty smooth. The front screen has a big lift, especially around the top and bottom. That's a really good amount of lift around that area. The back has a wider cutout and it has a slight lift around the camera as well. This design on the bottom of the case kind of resembles the side of the Ringke Onyx case, just not as fine. So it does offer some amount of grip support. However, this camera, the way it divots in and is smooth, does ruin the overall grip, as this material in itself is very slippery and smooth to the touch. Yeah, it is kind of lackluster. It is a MagSafe case, so it does have MagSafe to it, but its magnet's very weak compared to most of the other cases we've tried on today. It does still secure on your phone well enough, and it is also MagSafe charger compatible. So this is a summary of the Beats Rugged case. All in all, for this price, definitely not worth it. There are so many other cases in the world that just do so much more for less, half of this price. The Beats case, while it does look very clean and good and has like a brand name recognition sort of thing, it just doesn't really feel very premium, and definitely not $80 worth premium. I honestly don't really know what else to say about this case. If you like it, then I'm sorry. It's a pretty case. Next, I have the Casetify Ripple case. The Casetify Ripple case has a polycarbonate casing, so it holds its shape, and the outside is very soft liquid silicone. On the inside is a softer microfiber lining. It's a pretty average weight of 42.3 grams. And here it is. I love the green on the pink. It's very cute. Here are the bottom cutouts. Buttons all covered up. There is a single strap hole here, and the camera control button is also covered up as well. It is a little finicky and hard to control, but it still does work to some extent. The front screen has an even lift all around. The back camera does have that disappointing square cutout. Not that I'm expecting much from Casetify, to be honest. No shade. But there is a lift over the camera lenses, as you can see. So it does offer protection for it, at least. While it feels like a pretty typical silicone case, it does have the unique ripple design, as well as these bumpers, which do provide extra cushioning for impact and drop protection. It is MagSafe compatible, and it's pretty average. It's not super weak, although it isn't as strong as some of the other cases we've seen today. It is strong enough to secure your phone on MagSafe accessories, and it's also MagSafe charger compatible. So this is the summary of the Casetify Ripple case. The case itself is very cute, but the price tag of $56 is not really that cute. Is it worth $56? I'm not really sure. While I have seen other silicone cases on the market that just do better in terms of overall fitting, especially around the camera area, the Casetify Ripple I feel is kind of unique in the design, and I do really like these enhanced corner bumpers. They do make the case kind of pop and offer extra protection, but don't really add that much bulk to it. The material itself is also very high quality, so while there are things going for it, $56? I don't know. It depends on you and your budget. Next, I have the UAG Monarch Pro. The UAG Monarch Pro is made out of TPU, polycarbonate, and it has Kevlar around the area as well. It's a bit on the weightier side at 54.7 grams. And here it is. It has a pretty intense design on the back. Here are the bottom cutouts. There are strap holes on either side corners of the bottom case. The buttons are all covered up. However, the camera control button is left uncovered, which does ensure that you can use the camera control button to its fullest, although it kind of sacrifices protection for it. The front screen has a lift kind of all around. I do see that it is slightly higher on the top and bottom of the case. The camera on the back does have a wide cutout around it. The edges do go over the camera lenses, as we can see. Like I mentioned before, this design is pretty intense. The Kevlar does go around the MagSafe magnet, as you can see. It does add a bit of texture to these areas. The overall grip of the case is pretty good, to be honest. There is a honeycomb design to match the design of the case on the sides as well. Not really sure if that does much to help as much as the TPU, just general material, does. The case is fairly bulky, but it's still pretty easy to hold, and the just blocky design of it is kind of nice, to be honest. Like I'm holding a brick. And I say that with the most love and best intentions possible. The MagSafe magnet on the back does work despite the strange design. It's not that strong, to be honest. I do feel a little insecure about how heavy the case is and the overall strength of the MagSafe, but it still does work, and you won't have any issues charging your phone with a MagSafe charger either. Now, I said a lot of nice things about the UAG Monarch Pro, but as you can see, it costs $100. Why did I buy this case? I think I was just fascinated that someone had the guts to put a $100 case on the market, and like a fool, I fell for it. I'm not going to answer whether it's worth that price point or not. I've already bought it. It's too late for me, but I want you guys to take a real hard look at it. It has great grip, great levels of protection. It's bulky, but it's not too bulky. It has MagSafe, although the MagSafe magnet is a little weak. And tell me, is it worth $100? You be the judge. Next, I have the Supcase Unicorn Beetle case. The Supcase Unicorn Beetle case is a pretty standard hybrid case made out of TPU and a polycarbonate back. This case is definitely on the weightier side at 59.2 grams. And here it is. Here are the bottom cutouts. It also has a dust cap on the charging port. There is a single strap hole on this corner here, which isn't good enough for the Apple crossbody, but not a lot of people care. Here are the covered buttons and the covered camera control button. The overall quality of it is not bad. In fact, it's a lot smoother than a lot of the other cases that I've used today. It has some hitches, but not too bad overall. The front screen has a lift, generally around the top and bottom of the screen, with the sides being kind of flat for, minimizing swipe interference. The back camera does have that rectangular cutout, which I do dislike. It, as I stated, it does feel a little lazy, but the overall edge of the camera does go over the lenses themselves to ensure that there is enough protection for them. The case does feel noticeably weighty. The bulk itself is not too bad. I think the reason for the weight is that this part is made out of some kind of metal bit, and of course the kickstand in the middle does add substantial weight as well. The overall grip of the device and the case is not bad. I think the design, the way it juts out around here, do help to hold the phone in some manner, and it's easy enough to pick up as well. The kickstand in the middle does also turn into a MagSafe ring, if you want to use other like MagSafe accessories for it. And the magnet is pretty strong, as you can tell from my voice. I am struggling. You can also use it to charge with a MagSafe charger. The kickstand on the back does open up to about this angle. It's not rotational like the Ostand was, so you can set it up landscape mode, but you can't really adjust the angle of it. But if you set it up in portrait mode, you can change the angle, and the hinge is pretty strong, so it'll hold it pretty low. So here's the summary of the Supcase Unicorn Beetle grip. It's a bit on the heavier side, but it is also $28.99. For that price point, this case does give a lot, such as the camera control cover and the kickstand. It is made for protection, so for someone who wants a more minimal slim case, this isn't really for you. It's for people who want protection and the convenience of a kickstand in their day-to-day life. Last but not least, we have the Otterbox Defender Pro. The Otterbox Defender Pro is made out of 3 different parts. You do have to take it apart to install it. The topmost cover is this rubbery silicone outer shell, and the inner shell is this 2-piece polycarbonate that you kind of use to encase your phone into. I'll show you. And voila, here it is. The cutouts are centered, but if you can see here, that's an awkward gap, if I'm going to say the least. There are 2 strap holes on the bottom corners of the case, and there is also a dust cap over the charging port. The sides with the button covers. And this case does have a camera control button cover as well. And it is a little finicky. It's not the most intuitive, for sure. Yeah, it's not really something to use if you're in a hurry. The click works just fine though. The front screen does have a very substantial lip around the top and bottom of the case. The sides are cut low for minimal swipe interference, which I do like. The back camera has the really lazy Pro cutout design. That kind of leaves this area wide open. Just looks kind of awkward. But the lip around the camera lenses do go over them, so it does provide substantial protection for the camera lens itself. While this case does feel very wide and kind of bulky, the outer rubber layer of it is insanely grippy. It's so easy to hold. I am taking just shot after shot. There is this bumpy texture that we also saw in the Ringke case and the Beats rugged case as well, and that probably contributes to the overall grippiness of this phone. I really like it. It is, of course, MagSafe compatible, and the overall magnetic strength is pretty good, actually. It's definitely needed in order to hold up the case and the phone, especially with how bulky and heavy it is. Also compatible with MagSafe charging. Weight-wise, it's pretty hefty at 65.3 grams. So this is the summary of the Otterbox Defender. It is fairly weighty at 65.3 grams, but that's pretty understandable as it is a dual-layered case, and it does offer a lot of protection that I can feel. I don't mind it. The case itself is incredibly grippy, so it's just kind of easy to handle in that sense. It is priced at $80, but compare that to the Beats rugged case, which had the same price, and honestly, this one 100%. But this case is definitely for people who do need the protection. If you're looking for just something everyday, minimalistic, lightweight, this isn't your case. And those are the cases for the iPhone 17. I hope this video was able to help you out in finding the perfect case for you. If you have any other questions, make sure you leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. In the meantime, thanks for watching until the end, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!